Welcome to Adu Globe. Discover new ideas, learn exciting things, and be amazed every day. Is the United States quietly preparing a major move in South America? Could this be the beginning of a powerful campaign against the cartels in Venezuela? These questions are echoing across global headlines, and the answers may surprise you. Why is Venezuela at the center of such intense speculation? Is it only about cartels, or is there something far bigger unfolding behind the scenes? From secret intelligence briefings to sudden military drills, every clue adds fuel to the mystery. But here's the real question for you. If such an operation truly takes place, how will it reshape global politics? Will it bring stability, or ignite a new wave of conflicts? Stay with us, as we dive deep into this dramatic story. Venezuela, a land with the largest proven oil reserves on Earth. Once a symbol of prosperity, now a nation struggling with one of the world's most severe economic crises. But how did a country with such wealth reach a point where its people face shortages, instability, and fear? In the early 2000s, Venezuela's booming oil industry gave hope of a bright future. But political instability, corruption, and mismanagement slowly turned hope into despair. Inflation skyrocketed, jobs disappeared, and millions left their homeland in search of survival. And within this chaos, another power began to grow stronger. As the government weakened, drug cartels saw opportunity. Smuggling routes expanded, illegal networks flourished, and Venezuela slowly became a critical hub for narcotics flowing across continents. For the cartels, this wasn't just business, it was power. And for the United States, it became a growing security concern right at its doorstep. Troubled history. For over 2 decades, relations between Washington and Caracas have been tense. From Hugo Chávez's fiery speeches challenging U.S. influence, to sanctions, political disputes, and accusations of interference, trust kept eroding year after year. Each American president faced the same question: should the U.S. confront Venezuela directly, or attempt diplomacy? Today, under Nicolas Maduro's leadership, Venezuela is more isolated than ever. Economic collapse, political protests, and rising cartel influence have created a storm that seems unstoppable. And across the Caribbean waters, American warships keep a watchful eye. The question is no longer if the U.S. will respond, but how and when. So now, imagine this. If Venezuela becomes a battleground between government forces, cartels, and outside powers, what would that mean for global oil markets, for regional stability, and most importantly, for the millions of people who just want peace and survival? This is not just a Venezuelan crisis anymore. It's a story with consequences for the entire world. Across the turquoise waters of the Caribbean, reports confirm something unusual: U.S. Navy warships maintaining a constant presence. Officially, Washington speaks of counter-narcotics operations, but in reality, their deployment sends a far louder message. It is a message that Caracas cannot ignore. For the people of Venezuela, the sight of foreign warships nearby sparks both fear and speculation. Are they here simply to disrupt cartel routes? Or could this be the opening chapter of something much larger? History tells us that when American forces arrive at a troubled region, the situation rarely remains the same. In response, President Nicolas Maduro has taken the stage with fiery words. Calling upon Venezuela's militias, he speaks of sovereignty, resistance, and defiance. His message: if foreign forces dare to act, Venezuela will not stand idle. But how much of this is real strength, and how much is political theater for survival? The U.S. insists this naval presence is aimed at cartel operations. But many analysts argue, if it were just about smugglers, why deploy such massive firepower? Could it be preparation for a blockade? A show of force to pressure Maduro's government? Or even the early steps of a larger operation waiting for the right moment? Meanwhile, ordinary Venezuelans watch with mixed emotions. Some hope foreign pressure could weaken cartels and bring stability. Others fear that any conflict will only worsen shortages, violence, and instability. For a population already facing one of the deepest crises in modern history, uncertainty is perhaps the greatest enemy of all. Silent drone, floating on the dark waves of the sea, suddenly rising, and striking down a powerful fighter jet from the sky. This is not science fiction. This is the moment that rewrote the history of modern warfare. So we must ask, is this really about the cartels? Or is the United States carefully building a pressure campaign to reshape the political map of Latin America? Could the Caribbean waters be hiding not just ships, but the possibility of a storm that might shake the entire region? And now, the question comes to you. If this standoff continues, what outcome do you believe is more likely? A limited mission targeting cartels, or the beginning of a deeper geopolitical conflict? Because sometimes, what appears as a small operation in headlines, may in reality be the spark that changes the course of history. As U.S. warships patrol the Caribbean, the world wonders, what happens next? The situation could unfold in very different ways. Each path carries risks, and consequences that stretch far beyond Venezuela's borders. So let's explore the possible scenarios that experts are quietly discussing. In the first scenario, the United States keeps its promise, a targeted crackdown against drug cartels. Warships intercept smuggling routes, helicopters monitor the coastline, and intelligence units disrupt networks feeding the global narcotics trade. This would mean no direct conflict with Venezuela's government, but even a limited mission could increase tension, accidents, or sudden clashes at sea. The world would see this as America flexing its muscles, but stopping short of regime change. But what if the mission expands? In this second scenario, Washington uses the naval presence not just against cartels, but as pressure against Maduro's government. Economic blockades, covert operations, and military drills could push Venezuela's leadership toward collapse. For some in Washington, this would be the ultimate goal, replacing a hostile regime with one more aligned to U.S. interests. Yet such a move risks igniting a political firestorm across Latin America, and could invite the attention of powerful allies like Russia and China. The third and most dangerous scenario, escalation beyond Venezuela. If Brazil or Colombia, close U.S. partners in the region, join the operation, the entire northern part of South America could transform into a strategic battlefield. Border skirmishes, refugee flows, and economic disruption would ripple across the continent. And in such a chain reaction, global powers could step in, turning a local crisis into a conflict that shapes the 21st century. This leads us to the crucial question: what will Russia and China do? Both nations have invested heavily in Venezuela's oil industry, and both stand as strong political allies of Maduro. Would they simply condemn U.S. actions in speeches? Or could they respond with military advisors, intelligence support, or even naval visits of their own? The stakes rise dramatically when global superpowers enter the same stage. Behind all these scenarios, one group faces the greatest uncertainty: the Venezuelan people. For citizens already living through shortages, hyperinflation, and mass migration, another wave of instability could be devastating. They ask themselves, will foreign powers bring relief, or simply add another layer of struggle to daily life? So which future lies ahead? A limited strike on drug cartels? A campaign to force regime change? Or a regional conflict pulling in multiple nations and even global powers? The only certainty is this: the Caribbean is no longer calm waters. And the storm that may be coming could reshape not just Venezuela, but the balance of power across the world. The first and most direct impact is geopolitical, the shadow of a new Cold War. If Washington increases its presence in Venezuela, Moscow and Beijing are unlikely to remain silent. Military advisors, intelligence sharing, or joint naval exercises could signal a widening contest, a 21st century version of the Cold War, only this time, played out in Latin America. The question is not whether tensions will rise, but how far they can escalate before someone blinks. Venezuela holds the largest proven oil reserves in the world. Instability there is not just a local crisis, it is a global energy shock. If U.S. sanctions intensify or if conflict disrupts production, oil prices could spike dramatically. That would mean higher costs for shipping, airlines, and everyday fuel across the globe. Energy traders are already watching carefully, asking, will Venezuela become the next flashpoint that rattles the global market? Closer to home, Venezuela's neighbors feel the pressure. Brazil, a giant of South America, must decide: does it support Washington's actions, or does it stay neutral to avoid chaos at its border? Colombia, already a key U.S. partner in counter-narcotics operations, could be drawn deeper into confrontation, turning its border regions into staging grounds. For both nations, the choice is risky. Side with the United States and risk regional backlash, or remain on the sidelines and watch instability spill across their borders. But behind these headlines are millions of ordinary lives. If Venezuela's crisis worsens, migration will surge. Already, over 7 million Venezuelans have left their homeland in recent years, one of the largest migrations in modern history. A deeper conflict could send even more families across borders into Brazil, Colombia, or beyond, creating humanitarian challenges that could reshape entire societies. The true cost of instability is not measured only in oil barrels or naval fleets, but in human survival. So what does all this mean for the rest of the world? A fragile energy market, a shifting balance of power between Washington, Moscow, and Beijing, and a region of 30 million people caught in the middle of global chess moves. The uncertainty leaves us with one final question. Is Venezuela about to become the spark that ignites the next great geopolitical storm? As we reach the conclusion, one thing is undeniable: the future of Venezuela, and perhaps Latin America as a whole, hangs in uncertainty. The US has shown its military presence, but its final intentions remain hidden. Is this a strategy of pressure, a warning to rivals, or the first steps towards something larger? Only time will reveal the truth. What we do know is this: the coming days are crucial. Every move in Caracas, Washington, Moscow, or Beijing could shift the balance of world politics. The oil markets, regional alliances, and millions of lives all stand in the shadow of decisions yet to be made. The stakes are not only for Venezuela, but for the world itself. And now, the question passes to you, the viewers. Do you believe the United States will launch a direct military operation in Venezuela? Or is this simply a grand display of power to pressure both Caracas and its allies? Share your thoughts, because history is not only written by leaders, but also remembered by those who witness it.